Hi. Welcome back to the miniature mic monologue. Guys, I haven't sat down and recorded a podcast in what feels like forever because I was trying to get caught up because I don't know if I said it on here, but I have a goal to post 50 podcasts in the first year of me launching. And right now I'm on track with the number of weeks. I think this is week number 10 or 9. I think this is week number 10. And so I'm trying to stay on track with the weeks of the year so that if it comes to a head and I need to take a break, I can. But yeah, anyways, I'm really excited, especially to talk about today's topic. I think this is going to be a questions episode. I think. Because in today's episode, we're talking about what it really takes to be disciplined. And I think I have quite a unique mix of perspective when it comes to this topic because I saw a TikTok, which I feel like everybody says they saw a TikTok, but I did, that talked about how when you're one of those kids who's just naturally good at school or gifted at school, so you never really had to study and you still got good grades. I was that kid. And then you get to college and you're like, holy crap, am I stupid because you don't know how to study? And then you have to figure out how to study. Also, that kid currently, person, young adult currently, like that's what I had to figure out how to do over the last couple of years because I literally never had to study and I never had to conceptually consider what it would require of me to be disciplined because I wanted to be a volleyball player and I knew that meant that I was going to have to be in the gym 95% of my life. And so I just did that. Like there wasn't a level of self-awareness at that age for me to take a step back from what I'm doing and be able to see, oh, I'm being disciplined right now. I did all these steps so that I could be disciplined because even in me doing that, I would always just kind of get home and like fall out and just lay on the bed for hours or lay on the couch and not take a shower and not do anything. And my mom was like, just take a shower, then you can do your homework and like blah, 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 blah. But I couldn't do that. And I don't know what it is in me that made me do that, but I could never come home, immediately jump in the shower, immediately eat my dinner, do my homework in an hour, maybe an hour, 30 minutes max, and be done and move on with my life. So all of those things led me to believe that I naturally was incapable of practicing discipline because I didn't. But I have since learned that that is not the truth. I am not 100% aware of what has caused me to have that sort of knee-jerk reaction, just like, ugh, besides literally pure bodily exhaustion. But yeah, we're going to dive into what I did to figure out how to be disciplined. And I think being a former Division I athlete, a former Division I athlete, and also just someone who has always strived to be that version of myself that's doing everything that she wants to do, and having achieved that in the last 5 years and continuing to achieve that at this point in my life. I thought that this prototype that I used for myself would be valuable to someone else who was like me, or maybe someone who isn't like me but is still struggling with this, or someone who isn't struggling with this but maybe just wanted to hear a different perspective, because discipline is such a buzzword and it's honestly like it's like a weapon at this point, because it's like, well, you need to be disciplined. And it's like, okay, like, what does that even mean? How do we even do that? How do we break that down? And so I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about how I was able to do it and how I'm able to maintain it in the day to day, especially now that there is not really anything being required of me. It was much easier establishing it when I did because there was a lot required of me. But how I'm able to keep it and maintain it now, and just what I did in the beginning. So let's get into it. Okay, I have a page full of notes. I'm very excited to get into it. So the first thing that I had to do when I decided that I wanted to engage discipline as a regular practice in my life, in my more self-aware era, I guess I will say, because I feel like you just become more and more self-aware the older you get, especially going from young teenager to like an older teenager. But you have to identify who is in charge of you. And what made me so privy to this idea in general, and what helped me to get really serious about being disciplined in the first place, besides the fact that I was literally working like a 7 to 12, 7 a.m. to 12 a.m. job playing volleyball is that I had really gotten serious about my relationship with the Lord before I came to college. And God doesn't just ask that we follow him and that we go to church and we engage in community and we do all the cool, soft stuff that everyone wants to post about. No, he asks that you pick up your cross and live your life as he did on this earth, striving to become perfect as he was so that he can recognize you as that, right? And so I realized really early on in my decision to be serious, because I had always been exposed to church and church culture and the presence of God, which is the most important thing. I always knew that he was supreme. I always knew that he was Lord over everything. And if I was going to decide to be in relationship with him, that also meant that I had to decide to surrender to him and to serve him. And therefore, although he has given me this body to steward and to look after, he is really in charge of what this body does in the long run. You know what I'm saying? And I don't mean that to say that he has some kind of covert control over us, because he doesn't. But if we're doing all things as unto him because we are in relationship with him and we serve him, we should submit ourselves, our bodies, our minds, our souls to the direction of Christ. So once I became aware of that, I was like, I have got to, first of all, get this thought out of my mind about like, am I disciplined? Am I not disciplined? Whoa, sorry about the lighting change. Am I disciplined? Am I not disciplined? And I need to make a decision, because first of all, I'm thinking about it and it's taking me way too long to think about it. And it's driving me crazy because I was already dealing with the brunt of my undoing the anxiety journey in my mind. And I was like, I don't have time for this. I don't. Okay, the lighting's back. Moving on. So I was like, all right, essentially what discipline is coming to the decision that you are in charge of your body, how it shows up in and on this earth every single day. And within your body is your mind and your spirit and your soul. And when you subject that to God, you have to come to understand the idea of stewardship. He's given us this body to steward. He's given us this body to build up, to protect, to use it as a temple, and to prepare a space for him and be honored in the way that we use it. So I had to decide that I was in charge of the way that I showed up for myself and for everybody else around me, because God has given me that dominion. After I decided that I was in charge of stewarding the way that this body represented the greater body of Christ, I had to outline what I wanted to make a habit of, things that I wanted to see changed in my life that required a specific and consistent amount of discipline. And the best example to me was the dishes. And this is really what I used, or was my catalyst to becoming so disciplined early on in my young adult life, because I don't like to do the dishes. Well, now I do. It's crazy saying that. I do like to do the dishes because I see it as an act of caring for myself. But when I first started, I hated doing the dishes. And you know what's funny about this story is that in the place that I was living while I was doing all of this, I had a dishwasher. We're not going to get into that. The point is, I wanted to not have to look at dirty dishes in the sink. It drove me crazy. I never lived in a house where dirty dishes were in the sink, like for any point in time, I feel like. So I didn't want to do that. So I made a decision to myself to do the dishes every single night before I went to bed. And that leads me into my next step in what I had to do in wanting to have a clean house, before I went to bed every night, was creating a routine. So obviously I did the dishes at the end of the night, and I would do it, put them all away, put them in the dishwasher to dry. Okay. Anyways, I would put them in the dishwasher to dry and then, take them out the next morning. I created a routine, and I had a 30-day without fail commitment to doing that routine. And I know scientifically they said it takes about 21 days to build a habit, but for whatever reason in my mind, I was like, I'm just going to push for that month. So I did push for that month, and I did it without fail. Like if it was 2 a.m, because I decided I was too tired or whatever, and I laid on the ground and didn't take a shower or whatever, I was still doing the dishes. Like it didn't matter because it was part of the routine. Now, one thing that I did in creating this routine that was not helpful to me maintaining a longstanding desire to have discipline in my life was trying to figure out exactly what my routine was going to be from day one, like minute zero, second zero, nanosecond point oh 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 one. I had to know exactly what I was going to do for the next 30 days. Nothing in life is going to work like that. 18-year-old Jiana, 19-year-old Jiana, like, come on right now. Anyways, so I would advise you, if you're trying to start being disciplined in something, I first of all would advise you to start with one thing, not with everything, because I've heard the quote that says how you do one thing is how you do everything. I agree with that to a certain extreme. I think I aligned with that statement a lot more when I was younger because I had a hard time drawing lines of separation for certain things. And I think that there are appropriate lines of separation where the way that you handle one situation with your family members should not be the same way that you handle another situation with a complete stranger. You know what I'm saying? So there are some differentiations in that, but I do believe for the most part, the way that you do one thing is the way that you do everything. But you have to allow yourself to figure out what works for you in routine, aside from the commitment to be disciplined to this one act. Washing the dishes. I am going to wash the dishes every day for 30 days without fail. Now, if I'm going to do that at night, every day for the 30 days without fail might change because I inevitably got sick of having to wait until the end of the night to do that. So then I just evolved my routine to right after I made breakfast, I washed the dishes. Or while it was cooking, I would use one pan, get that stuff out of it, clean it while the other thing is cooking, boom, bam, set that thing on the plate. It's hot and warm and ready. The other thing is finishing, put that in there, wash that dish. Now I'm done. You know what I'm saying? So now my dishes are done from this morning. I come home to a clean kitchen, make dinner, do the exact same thing because I hated feeling like, oh, I have to get to the end of the day and do all of these dishes. You know what I'm saying? But I was so locked into the mindset. I was locked into a lot of things then. I don't know why I was so rigid, but that's for another podcast. But I was like, it has to be done the same way every single day. No, it doesn't. What has to get done is the dishes. Every single day, period. It doesn't matter if you do it in the morning, if you do it in the evening, if you do it throughout the day, just make sure that the dishes are done. So create a routine and do it for at least 21 days. I think that's what the science says, but I did 30 days without fail because then it becomes less of a conscious practice. It becomes a habit. It's just something that you do, and make space for yourself in developing the routine, but hold yourself to the standard of accountability of doing the one thing that you've decided to do in disciplinary practice. The next thing, and this is the key to me, I addressed it like a little, I don't even know if you remember because I've said a lot of things since I started this podcast, but this is what has allowed me to stay disciplined and keep being disciplined. I'm going to use a different example than the dishes. And I'm going to talk about reading my Bible because when I was like 18 or 19, I was like, I'm not reading the Bible every day like I should. And I know I should be. So I was like, I'm going to do that. And sometimes I didn't wake up 4 hours in advance to take time to leisurely read my Bible because I was because I was exhausted. Like, you know what I'm saying? I don't even know my routine in real life being a student athlete. And now I'm trying to add this new thing to my routine, which is extremely necessary, but I can't do both. So I created what I call a fail safe. I didn't invent the term. I just call it a fail safe in this context. I would read my Bible every day for about 30 days. I think it was probably longer, honestly, until I kind of stopped consciously thinking about it. But I would read the Bible every day, regardless of what time it was. If I woke up late and I couldn't read the Bible in the morning, I'm so sorry for this lighting. I don't know what's going on right now. I really don't. Anyways, I would read it every day. For the first probably week and a half, I could get up and read it in the morning, every single morning. Then all of a sudden, boom, life hits you. You set the wrong alarm. You wake up late. Now you can't read your Bible in your routine like you would like to. I have to go to practice. It starts in an hour. Oh, I haven't eaten. I can't sit down and read the Bible for 45 minutes. It's going to take me 45 minutes to get prepped for practice. So you know what that meant? I went to practice. I came back. I did my regular daily routine. Everything that I would regularly do during the day, I did that throughout the day. It came to night. Right before I took a shower, I sat my tail down and I read the Bible. If I got up spontaneously, heard from a friend, we're going to go do this. Oh my gosh, I was sleeping in again. Here we go. We go out and do it. Come back. They go to sleep. We're all hanging out together. I go find somewhere to sit and be quiet and read my Bible. There were even days that I was so busy that I got up, wanted to read it, ran out of time, couldn't read it, whatever the circumstance was, that I would open my Bible app on my phone and read the verse of the day. And I had to tell myself, I read the Bible today, because I did. Did I read what I would like to have in an ideal day? 3 or 4 chapters? No. Did I engage with the word of God today? Yes. Was it 1 verse? Yes. Okay, maybe on the verse of the day that day, it was 3 verses. Okay, fine. Did I make time and set time out to read the word of the Lord? Yes. Period. Create a fail safe. And creating a fail safe really helped me to be more fluid in my routine and not so hard on myself, because I was already doing so many other time consuming and demanding tasks that sometimes getting what I wanted in a routine situation that I could do it every day for a month, 2 months, 3 months uninterrupted was not an option. So I had to create a fail safe, meaning that as soon as something went wrong and I couldn't do it in my ideal routine, I had to create another commitment to a different time, which is the fail safe. You know what I'm saying? So that's essentially what I call the fail safe, is making sure that you keep the discipline engaged, even if it's not in your normal routine. That is the key to me of having discipline in your life, is creating a fail safe. You have to be able to still engage in the discipline even when life gets crazy. You cannot allow the things that are happening outside to keep you from doing the discipline, because that's exactly how discipline dies. You have to do it regardless. It has to be your main priority for whatever extent of time, 21 days, 30 days, 45 days, 60 days, and then it will become a habit. You have to have that fail safe. Okay, just in case you didn't get it, you need to have a fail safe. Okay, we're gonna review all the steps that I've outlined because we're coming to the last one. First, and most importantly, you have to identify who's in charge of you, and period. Then you have to outline what you want to make a habit of. Then you have to create a routine, minimum 21 days. I did 30. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm just telling you what I did. Without fail, you do that routine or that practice or that discipline. And then don't expect yourself to have that discipline routine locked in those 30 days. Give yourself some flexibility, but not flexibility in practicing the discipline, which leads us into the fail safe. That is how you achieve discipline. The routine is going to fall apart. Something's not going to happen. You still have to do the thing. You have to do the thing. That is discipline. I don't care what's going on. You got to do the thing. Have the fail safe. And then the last one is really what I've learned now after establishing that discipline, because that was pretty early on in my collegiate career, not just as an athlete, but as a student, is that you have to build in routine breaks. And this is especially important if you are someone who is extremely busy and pretty much always has their days scheduled out, like from when you wake up to when you go to sleep. You have to build in routine breaks, because you are going to get sick of doing the discipline. You want to hear a funny story? So I love taking care of my body. I love taking care of my face, my oral hygiene, all that stuff, right? I made a commitment when I was like 15 or 16 that I was going to brush my teeth every night, because the dentist always said that we should do it, but like we didn't really do it at home. So I was like, I'm going to do this because it's better. Like we should do it, right? And so when I was coming off of like the 30-day, 40-day without fail, and I had engaged all of my fail safes, and it was like now a conscious habit for me to do the dishes, for me to read my Bible, for me to brush my teeth twice a day. When I would get extremely overwhelmed or tired, or I was just like overstimulated and everything that could have gone awry that day went awry, I would not brush my teeth that night. Okay, It's so cheesy. But like when I took a break that night, I did it. First of all, I was like, I should brush my teeth because I can't put my retainer in. You know what I'm saying? And then I was like, well, I should just get up and do it right now because blah, 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 blah. And like 8 times out of 10 that I went to go do that, I did go brush my teeth. But the 2 times out of 10 that I didn't, the next day, boom, back to it without fail. I didn't even think that I didn't brush my teeth because I had gone through the steps to establish the habit and break the discipline. But sometimes you need to just sit back and relax and let the sun change for the 45th time in this podcast. Anyways, but sometimes you just need to let yourself do whatever. Like, just do whatever. Like, if you shower every single night at the same time with the same soap and all that stuff, don't do it one night. Don't shower. Wake up and shower in the morning. Don't shower. Okay, I'm not going to say don't shower because we already have a hygiene problem in America, but you get what I'm saying. All of it is your business, okay? But I'm just saying, sometimes you need to just like, get all of it off of you because everything else around you is demanding so much of you. Sometimes it's okay to have a routine break in what you demand of yourself, especially if you can't lessen the load from what people are demanding from you. And even if you aren't getting a lot demanded from you, sometimes you're just like, I just want to lay in bed for 12 straight hours. Do it. Do it. Every 1 or 2 blue moons, baby, do that. It's good for you because then you kind of get that fire and desire to get back in the routine. It's kind of like drinking coffee after you haven't had it in a while. Like when I go home to Arizona, I usually only drink hot coffee from a Keurig. So then when I come home to drink my espresso, that first week of coffee is insanity. It's so good. The flavors are so bold and so vibrant because I haven't had them for a week, 2 weeks, a month, maybe a month and a half. And so it builds that kind of fire and desire to keep that part of my routine, which is making coffee in the morning or making matcha, because I haven't had to do it or I haven't had the ability to do it for such a long time. So if you give yourself a little bit of a routine break, like one day, I wouldn't recommend going past 2 days, especially if this is a newly established discipline, because fail safe. Discipline over everything. At this point, you have to choose who's in charge, right? But once you've gotten to a place where you know who's in charge, that you are in charge, that you are stewarding this, if you believe what I believe, as unto the Lord, everything that you're doing, once you know that, it's okay to chill one night, girl. Don't do the dishes. Who's gonna die? Nobody's gonna die, especially if you're living alone, like, and you plan to have a family. Do not discipline yourself to death. You know what I'm saying? Because I almost got to that point. And this is not in contradiction to anything that I said. It goes with it. And if you can't see that, well, you just don't want to. Because this is not to say, forget everything that I just said. This is to say, after everything that you have done that coincides with what I said or with whatever you decide to help you develop a routine of discipline, this is to allow you to keep doing that. It's like the Sabbath. Hello, Holy Spirit. It's like the Sabbath. You have to take a full break from it sometimes. We are not robots. We are not battery-powered beings. We are not God. We can't operate on not sleep. He can. We need to take a break sometimes, okay? And that's all I'm trying to get across to you. Anyways, if the sun changes 4 more times in this video, I can't do anything about it. Does it annoy me? Oh, look at that. That's it. That's all I have for this podcast episode. I really wanted to get on here and talk about this because I feel like discipline, such a buzzword, and I honestly feel like it's a buzz kill at this point, honestly, because anytime someone hears that word, at least me, I'm like, oh, shut up. Even though I'm actively engaging in discipline practices in my life every day. But I thought I would share this with you because I thought my perspective was unique. Everyone just assumes that it's so easy for student athletes to be disciplined. It's not. We are good at doing what's required of us and what's asked of us because, well, we've been coached our whole lives. And if we weren't being coached, we were being parented. It's a transition from not having a say in doing what you're being told to do to kind of having a say in it because you get to play the sport, even though the coach is telling you do this, this, and this, you actually have the final say. It's a weird connection that I just made there. I didn't really mean to, but you get the point. Like, it's easier to just do what you're told and a lot of times you're not really doing it for yourself. You're doing it because it is your responsibility to this entity that you have decided to be a part of. That's a team, that's a company, that's a family, and that's whatever. But you are also your own entity, and you have a responsibility and an obligation to show up for yourself in the same ways that we are told we should only be showing up for everyone else, or that we are shown we should only be showing up for everyone else, because it is, for some reason, unbeknownst to me, that taking care of yourselves and prioritizing yourselves is like the worst thing you could ever do. And it's completely cocky and it's complete arrogance, when the Bible literally says you have to love yourself in order to love your neighbor. The world has it backwards. It's like love your neighbor, then love yourself. It's not how it works. But anyways, I'm babbling a lot, but I missed you. I'm so excited to get this podcast up. If you're watching this the day that I post it, I literally recorded this yesterday. So hey, from Friday. But yeah, I wanted to share this. I think it's valuable information. I think it's cool to hear different perspectives. And I also just thought it would be a relevant topic to discuss, especially considering my age group and, any age group really, but considering that like I'm about to transition from being a college student to being just a regular adult, a regular person in life, and not really know what my next kind of requirement is going to come from in terms of a requirement that's coming from outside of me. So I wanted to give some insight as to how I structure the requirements that I put on myself, and how that really does help me and how it honors God. So I hope that you were able to take at least one of those things from this, or that God allowed you to hear and take something else from my quirky little stories about not brushing my teeth. Like sometimes I say that stuff and I'm like, oh my gosh, could you get any more corny? Could you get any more corny? But that's me, baby. That's what you're gonna get. And that's it. That's all I have for this podcast episode. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.